the mics. I gotta unmute the mics.
Where's our intro, man? You got that
Sorry.
too? We're a little stumbly out of the block here.
Let me start over. Welcome into another episode of the SquadCast, of course. I'm producer Clark. Mad Max is to my, screen right. Max, what's going on, dude? We're not in the studio today. We're at home. How are you feeling?
We're not in the studio. I'm feeling all right. Where's our intro, though? Where's our fire
The intro, I only had one with the old logo on it that I could find that would work. So we're intro lists for today.
Got you. Okay, well, we'll bug Director Jordan to maybe grab that for us. Either way, I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well.
That's good. So am I. I'm doing
the
okay.
New Year. Doing good things. Drinking more water, as they say.
Is that one of your resolutions?
I hear it's good for you. And there's no vodka in it. So, I mean, there's no anything in it. Good to go.
Not yet.
Yeah, we'll see how the Preds game goes tonight against Vegas. Might be an early one. We'll see.
Exactly.
Anyways, how are you doing, my man?
I'm doing okay. We had a good holidays. Obviously, I hosted a World Junior.
Holidays?
We had a World Junior preview show that I hosted all by myself. So that was
nice.
Awesome.
Good work. I hear you did well.
I know that Katie Fleury said she was going to give you a hard time, so I'm just opening the door for her to do that.
Nice. Good stuff.
But anyways, it was a good time, and we're ready to rock into a new year. Obviously, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's pretty obvious. We're at our houses for today. Max, do you want to give everyone a little life update and kind of, I guess I'll just say that I'm at home because of life situations as well. Obviously, I got a couple of children. Life is busy, and we've kind of just decided that maybe going from home for a little while is probably for the best. But Max, you have a busy schedule too. What's going on with you?
Yeah, as Billy Madison once said, back to school to prove that I am not a fool. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Wrapping up my last semester at Saskatchewan Polytechnic. I'm looking forward to wrapping up my marketing diploma. But yeah, when it comes to time and hours in the day, as we're figuring out, even on our first go around, even at home, there's definitely a shortage of time as there were. So we're excited to be on StreamYard and bring you guys a bit of a different perspective of how we're going to be doing things. But at the end of the day, I certainly like my setup. Just choosing to have Nashville Predators gear around me makes me feel good. I'm ready to fire on all cylinders. So feeling fantastic about it. Hopefully you guys enjoy the new perspective, and we'll hang out and talk sports as we always do.
We got Ava tuning in. And the nice part about this, Max, is you and I are both admins here. Our girl Ava here is, damn, no Trouba shirt in the back. I know, the Trouba shirt's in the closet. Actually, you know what? It might be in the laundry. I was wearing it over the holidays, believe it or not. It's a great shirt. I'm pretty happy with it. So anyways, Ava's checking in. Hello, Ava. Jamie Anstey's checking in from Halifax. What is going on, Jamie? Carlos Lejena from Indianapolis. What is going on, Carlos? Aaron Matthews, our boy. Happy New Year's to you. Donna Berger, Happy New Year's to you. Hit us up in the comments all night long. We will put your comments up on the screen. We'll talk about it, especially if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube. I got my TikTok going on over on this side, Max. We got Jesse checking in. We got McKay checking in. We got Nicholas checking in. Pete's over here. New Brunswick Junior Hockey's checking in. So we got a good crew over here. We got a good crew here. So let's get right into it. Ava's also saying, go Preds tonight.
Yeah,
so
54 minutes, so puck drop. Got to keep it tight, keep it right, all that good stuff. Yeah.
Quick shout out before we jump into our topics. I got my original 16 Great Western Lager. I'm also wearing the shirt tonight, the Great Western Lager shirt. Shout out to Chris Hubbard and the boys and girls over at Great Western. They had some big news, and I think I mentioned it in our World Junior preview show. But if you didn't hear about it, Max, they're expanding in Saskatoon. Their brewery. So
let's go.
They got some big stuff going on. And what I was told, a little birdie told me that it's because they want to expand into Ontario.
Oh,
so our Ontario friends who've been asking us, where can I get my Great Western? This is the Great Western Lager. Also, just in case I need it, I got the hard seltzer here tonight as well. Because why not?
Oh, geez, you're well set up, hey?
If I need it,
talking to me for an hour makes you or forces you to drink, I guess. Hey?
Yeah, a little bit.
Nice.
But they have told me that yes, they have some high demand in Ontario, and because of that, they are expanding a little bit to make sure they can meet that demand. So that's
good
awesome
stuff. Good news in the new year for our friends over at 016. That's awesome.
And
Great
with that in mind, we will be having an Original 16 Great Western Brewery giveaway coming up this week. Stay tuned. We just have to set up set it up, and then we're going to post it. So that'll be on our Facebook and Twitter pages, probably Instagram as well. And we'll get it going over there. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But either way, let's get into our topics, Max. How do we want to start this? We want to go right into the NFL. I know you're wearing your Rams. You're pretty pumped about what's going on with that. Do you want to look at the NFL playoff picture, and we'll start from there?
Crazy not to. Seems to be the most topical thing on the schedule.
All right, so let's not do that screen. Let's do this one. There we go. All right.
I miss Director Jordan.
Yeah, Director
really
Jordan
do.
would have had that first try.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the playoff picture in the NFL so far. So we got the Tennessee Titans, who got hot at the right time, clinching top spot right now in the AFC. Of course, there is 1 week left, so this could,
Albeit without superstar
Derrick
running
Henry.
back Derrick Henry for the last 6-7 weeks. So I mean that's and I guess he's slated to return if I'm not mistaken this week, get some reps in before the playoffs, and
Yeah,
all's
I
looking good in
understand.
Tennessee.
That's my understanding. And Tennessee is well coached, and they have a solid team all around. So if they get Derrick Henry back, look out. The
88
Chiefs,
players they've gone through, Clark. 88 set an all-time
really?
NFL record. They've gone through so many bodies. Everybody thought that the Ravens had won the injury Super Bowl this year. No, it's the first place Tennessee Titans. So put some respect on those Titans.
Oh, I will.
Aaron
That's
DuPont's
interesting,
Tennessee
though.
Titans.
That's interesting, though, because that comes nowhere close. The 100 plus players that Chris Jones had with the Saskatchewan Roughriders a few years ago. So 88 is an NFL record of players.
88's an all-time NFL record. Yep.
Wow, that's awesome. Jacob's checking in over on TikTok. He's our THPN fan, the Hockey Podcast Network, which I will just say it right now. We will be having a stream tomorrow. The Leafs and Oilers, if it happens, and they don't
Possibly
shut it down.
Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews. Man, how much fun is that actually going to be?
Well, it's not going to be as fun, but it's the Leafs, so it's always good. I got my new jerseys. I got my new jerseys hanging out behind me here, Max, my Matthews and Riley jerseys. So one of those will be adorned tomorrow.
Yeah, I've got my garbage can right here just so if I got to look at it, I can
matches.
Do the old
Understandable.
Yeah.
The Chiefs, Max, one thing I'd love to say about the Chiefs is that I think we called this on our show with our friend Jim Lang. About halfway through the year, Jim Lang came on our show. I believe it was Jim Lang on our show. It might have been Andy McNamara. No, it might have been Andy McNamara. He came in halfway through the season and said, guys, the Chiefs defense is coming around in the second half. They're going to be good. Because if you recall, Max, at one point, they were like 500, were they not?
Oh, yeah, they were horrible to start the season, right? Everybody was wondering what's going on with Patrick Mahomes. Has the league figured him out? What's going on with this Chiefs defense? Tyrann Mathieu, not the same guy. I mean, the last 6-7 weeks have kind of really dispelled any sort of notion that the Chiefs are going away anytime soon. I mean, this was a thriller. Obviously, you texted me about the end of the team right below them, the Cincinnati Bengals. The Joe Burrow-led squad out in Ohio. But yeah, going back to the Chiefs, I mean, I look at the AFC and it still runs through them. I know the Titans are potentially locking up the 1 seed. If not, they've already got that sewn up regardless of what happens in Week 18. But when it comes to just the Kansas City Chiefs, man, it's Patrick Mahomes. Like the dude just will not be denied if he does not want to be. So I'm looking at it as the road still goes through Kansas City, still goes through Arrowhead. To get to the Super Bowl on the AFC side of things. But man, oh man, it's been a whirlwind of a year. Not your typical Kansas City walkthrough year. Andy Reid and his squad have faced some adversity, and I think they're going to be all the better for it going into this year's playoffs.
I agree. Jared over here is saying TJ Watt is a beast. Yes, he is. We haven't talked about the Steelers yet, but yes, he is. I'm a troubled Jets fan, says New Brunswick Junior Hockey. Well, I apologize.
But Zach Wilson looks okay.
Looking at the Bengals, though, obviously they clinched the AFC North. That doesn't happen all the time. And you see, Max mentioned just a second ago that the Chiefs and Bengals played this past week. And it was one of the craziest finishes I've seen in a while. I tuned in on NFL Red Zone, Max, for the first time I've ever watched NFL Red Zone. Noticed I had it, first off. Then I jumped on it. And it was a wild ride. But Chiefs and Bengals, it was 31-31, I think. And the Bengals had the ball down on like the 10-yard line. They run a play, get a few yards. They run a play, and then they got a first and goal. And what they ended up doing was got stuffed 4 straight times. Okay. On the 4th time, there was a dual penalty, and they were both holding. So offensive holding and defensive holding. And for whatever reason, they offset and they repeated the down. So I'm not sure why, if it was offsetting, the play wouldn't have just counted. Does that make sense to you? Or I was a little surprised that they
not particularly, because when it's offsetting penalties, right, the yardage cancels out, but you still replay the down, right? Because when it comes to, if it's just a one-sided holding penalty or whatever it may be on the offense, right, what you're going to be doing is you're going to take the yardage, but you repeat the down if the opposing team accepts the penalty, right?
Right.
So they offset, then you'll still repeat the down.
They repeated the down, so it gave them another chance after getting stuffed 4 times. And Joe Burrow was in the shotgun. Like it was the shotgun on the goal line. So they were passing. They come out, shotgun again, and they throw it. I think he threw it into like the corner of the end zone. But what happened was the cornerback who was covering, or maybe it was a linebacker covering the slot receiver, grabbed his face mask. So it was illegal contact on a receiver, gave him an automatic first down. So they had a first down with like 45 seconds left or something like that on goal line, of course. So then the commentators are like, oh, just kick the field goal. Just kick the field goal. And the guy's like, no. They can take a knee, run the clock down, don't give Patrick Mahomes a chance, and then kick a field goal. What they ended up doing was they ran another play. They didn't take a knee. They ran another play. Nothing happened. And then they're like, okay, they've got to do something different here. They cannot try again. Just take a knee and kick a field goal. So anyways, they ended up taking a knee. They spiked the ball with 2 seconds left because they didn't have any timeouts left, and they kicked a field goal to win. And the Bengals, like I said, do not win the AFC North often, and it was at home. So huge win for Cincinnati in that one. That's fun to watch. The Buffalo Bills, Max, they've kind of been up and down.
Whoa.
Oh, do you have something to say?
We can't skim past this game without talking about Jamar Chase.
Oh,
the dude out-received Patrick Mahomes passing yards. Like, that's video game type of stuff, man. What do you have, 266 yards? Something like stupid, like 12 receptions or whatever it is. Like, you're not supposed to do that in the NFL. That's absolutely insane. So when we talk about the Chiefs defense, I mean, maybe that is a bit of a concern going into the playoffs. But like I said, we can't talk about that game without talking about Jamar Chase. And what do you have, 3 touchdowns?
He was big. Yeah, he basically locked up Rookie of the Year, I would think.
Well, he also locked up a lot of fantasy championships for a lot of owners. That's
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Just got the notification the Raptors beat the Spurs 129-104 tonight. So shout out Raptors. The Bengals or the Bills, Max, they were a team early on that we thought, I don't think undefeated was ever mentioned, but they were a team that was going to win a lot of games, and they've kind of slid a little bit, but they ended up clinching the division or just the playoffs right now. They have not clinched the division yet, but they are in the playoffs. I think as you scroll down now, who would they be fighting with though?
That'd be the New England Patriots. They're counterparts.
Oh, right below them.
East,
Sorry,
right
I was looking down here in the hunt and on the bubble. I wasn't looking right below them on the Patriots. So the AFC East, of course, they're fighting it out for the division.
Be an interesting playoff game because everybody remembers the Snow Bowl where Mac Jones only threw 3 passes and still found a way to beat the Bills. The Bills go back into Foxborough and find a way to even the score, tie the season series at 1-1. That'd be an amazing wild card weekend matchup. That'd be amazing.
I wouldn't be mad.
I'd be looking forward to that one for sure. That'd be one in the AFC that I'd be certainly paying attention to. I'll be paying attention to all of them because unlike you, I'm not a virgin to Scott Hansen and the red zone array of things. I've spent many an hour, many a Sunday over the last couple of seasons familiarizing myself with NFL Red Zone. So
yeah, I didn't realize I had access to it. I signed up for TSN to watch the World Juniors. I have a TSN subscription and it comes with it. So I was like, oh, I didn't realize I had this. So I tuned in. It was awesome.
We'll talk about the World Juniors obviously a little bit later. Unfortunately, not a full tournament to talk about. What would have been semifinal night tonight if we were going to be going for?
I want to say they put a day in between the semis and the final, maybe. But either you're right. Semifinal would have been tonight, and tomorrow would have been gold medal, and we were going to be streaming the gold medal game and potentially the semifinal game. So either way, we'll
talk about it a little bit later. But disappointment all around when it comes to the World Juniors, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. To wrap up the AFC, and then we'll switch over to the NFC and look at those teams. The Colts and Chargers are still battling. There's still scenarios where they can get in. And then on the bubble, we got the Raiders, Steelers, and Ravens. The Ravens, again, fell from grace. They had such a good opportunity to lock a playoff spot up so early in the year. And now look at them. They're 500.
Oh, man. Well, you can't talk about the 2021 season without the Baltimore Ravens. What are they on their 5th or 6th running back this season? They lost their top 3 running backs before the season even started. Lamar Jackson's been out the last 3 weeks. Tyler Huntley has played well, and obviously they just played the Rams this weekend, so I gained a little bit of an appreciation for what they've gone through. Producer Clark's on mute right now. He's not going to listen to me, but that's okay.
Right. No, I'm hearing
the Baltimore Ravens, though, man, just a tough year. I think if you look at John Harbaugh, his job is completely safe. There's just so much that went against them this year. And for them to even have a chance at finishing above 500, I know that Ravens fans, since Lamar Jackson has come to town, have really obviously been playoff expectations every single season, even dating back to the Joe Flacco days. But yeah, it's it's funny to see how things happen. And I'm not too sure if they have their first round pick, but this is just one of those years where you chalk up injuries, COVID, everything that you could possibly have go against you. The Baltimore Ravens had, including a game that the Rams should not have won. The Baltimore Ravens should have won that football game. Make no mistake about it. Matt Stafford handed it to him on a silver platter, and they still didn't want it. So that's just kind of 2021 season the Baltimore Ravens had. But yeah, for the the Las Vegas Raiders.
Fine jar
on that one.
Also, just before you move on to the Raiders, they also had a game this year where Lamar Jackson threw 4 interceptions in one game. So there's been a multitude of tragedy of errors going on with Ravens all year long.
Stafford throws pick sixes every week and the Rams still win. No excuse there is what
you're
it is.
Right.
But anyway, good point. 4 interceptions. That's right. Anyways,
and it was the same week. It was the same week Cody Fajardo threw 4 interceptions, I believe, as well. And we'll talk about this later. Chris Jones bashing Cody Fajardo's passing ability, but I digress.
A whole bunch of free ads there, hey?
A lot of ads on 3 Down Nation. No offense to them, but that's a lot of ads.
Oh, that's how they get paid.
The Raiders.
The Raiders win and get in situation. The NFL just dropped on the schedule. It's going to be the Raiders and the San Diego Los Angeles Superchargers on Sunday Night Football for a chance to lock up that last spot in the AFC. So, man, you look at the Raiders this year. Talk about a team that, again, you want to make excuses for the Ravens. Look at the Raiders. John Gruden exodus in exactly not the purest form that you'd want to see. Henry Ruggs III completely ruins his own life, including somebody else's in a horrible car accident. And the Raiders just find a way to stay in this hunt. I mean, if you look at who's their coach now, Rich Pisaccio, does that sound about right? I probably could Google it, but anyways, it sounds close.
Well, we can Google it. I'll Google it.
Sounds good. Give it a Google. Anyways, the guy on the sidelines for the Raiders that's coaching the team, how he is not coach of the year, it would absolutely baffle me if somebody gets this ahead of him with everything that they've had to deal with, the turmoil, the adversity. Derek Carr losing games for them a couple of occasions. I still won't forgive him ever for costing me a fantasy week, but I digress. 9-7.
What did you say the name was of the coach?
Rich Pisaccia?
Yeah, you nailed it.
Oh, look at me go. Fire.
Let me see if I can pull it up here.
What happens when you drink more water in the day? But anyways,
yeah, it's good for you.
For the Las Vegas Raiders. But yeah, no, for Sunday Night Football, I'm really excited to see that one. Derek Carr, Justin Herbert, winning get-in scenario. What better football game is that, especially in the inaugural season of it being a 17-game season? I'm really liking the drama. I really am.
Yeah. Looking over at the NFC, the Packers just continue to roll unfazed by the Aaron Rodgers drama this year, unfazed by the injuries and COVID situation with their receivers this year. The Packers are sitting at the top and like kind of on their own. Like, no offense to the Rams and Bucks, but they're only 13-win team this season so far. Not to say that they won't be the only ones, but then you look at your Rams and the Bucks again. They're tied at 12 and 4 is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, fine jar. Where's the fine jar?
What did I say? Why are you finding me?
Because you said 14 and something.
Wow, I was going to say 14 and 2, but
numbers are hard.
Yeah, I know. It's a long day. But Max, I don't know if you want to go a little off on your Rams here on how well they've done this year amidst. I mean, they haven't dealt with a ton of adversity compared to some teams. Like we just talked about the Raiders. We're going to talk about Antonio Brown coming up next. They haven't dealt with anything necessarily like that, but kind of a feel-good story with OBJ this past week. Am I correct in saying that?
Feel-good story since he arrived, man. I mean, everybody looked back at the OBJ scenario and saying, oh, he's a diva, he's a drama queen, he just wants this. Well, no, if you look at if anybody watched Baker Mayfield last night, the dude sucks. I'm sorry. He just does. And I'm sure he's a great guy, not a great football player. I'm going back in between of my midst of seeing obviously the things that his family's gone through on social media lately. It's not right to disparage a man over what he does for a living, but at the same time, when you're in the spotlight, like these guys are making millions of dollars to play the game. Unfortunately, Baker Mayfield, I know he's been playing hurt, but he was not the guy for OBJ. OBJ comes over to the Rams, 5 touchdowns in 7 games. One of those games he played on 2 days' notice with Robert Woods going down for the season, who honestly, I wasn't sure if the Rams were going to come back from that because he's kind of a heart and soul guy and would love to have him out there, especially for a deep playoff run. But regardless, the Rams have responded. They found a way to win ugly a couple of weeks in spite of Matthew Stafford's untimely turnovers. And you know what? Again, it's just find a way to get in and see what happens. But I'm looking at this as a Rams fan. I'm feeling pretty comfortable about the spot that they're in. Obviously, you'd like to lock up a home playoff game and really have a chance to cement yourselves in ahead of a Super Bowl that they're going to be hosting. With the Chargers, obviously, sharing that stadium, they could also be in that conversation should they get into the playoffs. But everybody knows SoFi is the house of the Rams. The Chargers just rent it. It's
just a quick note here for you, Max, to wrap up what you were talking about Jamar Chase earlier. You nailed the numbers.
Yeah,
except you said 12 catches, not 11. So
no, either way.
Outside of that, there you go.
Did pretty good. Just
Not
like
bad.
Jamar did. I did pretty good.
Not bad.
But yeah, when it comes to the Rams, I'm excited for a playoff run. I hope it goes well. But I'm looking at the NFC and looking at all these different teams, and I'm like, there's no easy out here. There really isn't.
No.
The Packers, like you said, are kind of in a league on their own. They're going to advance with the first place bye, and
even if I scroll down, the Cardinals weren't even on the screen there. There's 5 legitimate contenders in the NFC this year. Yeah. And I know you want to talk a little badly about the Cardinals because they're your division rivals because you're a Rams fan. But at the same time,
they're a division rival yet. Like, this is the first year the Cardinals are going to the playoffs in 6 years. The Niners, who we play this week, those are definitely a division rival that I'm a little bit worried about.
And they're in the hunt, according to the NFL website.
If they beat us this week, they can get in, and we possibly play them as well too if that happens. If it's a 3 versus 6 scenario. So
we're talking about the Cowboys. Obviously, they had a rough game. They got to find a kicker. Greg Zuerlein missing field goals. Not easy.
Ram should still be a Ram.
The Buccaneers are now dealing with this. Well, let's start it over. There it is. There's Antonio. Look at him in all his glory. Now, Max, you said you were going to have a little something to say about Antonio Brown. What I will say before you get your chance is I hope this guy gets the help that he needs. And I'm going to take the road of I'm not going to say anything about this guy being a bonehead or anything like that, because to me, he's had some injuries in his career that make me think, his brain might not be what it used to be. And I'm just worried that, there's more to it than just him being a goofball. So I'm going to sit here today and just say, I hope this guy gets the help he needs. He's obviously an amazing football player. There's been signs recently that, things just aren't right. So I'm just hoping that it's not too far down that road. But Max, I know you had something else to say too.
Yeah, and I think I echo your sentiments 100%. We're certainly not doctors. We just play them on TV. So ultimately, it's one of those things where clearly Antonio is about Antonio sometimes. And I mean, we've obviously seen some of the reports that have come out about him potentially being injured, not wanting to go back into the game. And him just kind of getting into a bit of a pissing contest with head coach Bruce Arians. Right. Mike Evans, a well-respected, highly regarded teammate of his, obviously shown not in that video, but in about 15-second prior footage before he did the Dean Portman strip dance.
Right.
Fans of the Mighty Ducks will certainly appreciate that reference. But I think that's the only thing I'll say about it is, again, echoing your sentiments, I hope that if there's help needed, that he gets it. And Tom Brady's post-game presser, he kind of went through the emotions that they're all feeling. They feel that Antonio Brown is a brother of theirs, and they want to see him be healthy and be well. And ultimately, unfortunately, on the football field, I mean, he's a Super Bowl champion again, as of last year with the Buccaneers when they brought him on. But yeah, it just, for whatever reason, tumultuous situations seem to follow Antonio wherever he goes. The only thing that I didn't really like about that was just, again, like the sideshow that has to go along with everything that he does. I mean, the guy could have easily just walked off the field, kept his uniform on, whatever it may have been. It didn't have to be the big song and dance that it was, but I mean, that's just kind of on brand for Antonio Brown. So ultimately, again, if there's issues that need some monitoring and some help with, hopefully he gets that help. And just moving on from it, I'm sure there's going to be more to come from it in the next few days.
Yeah,
as
more.
Has been broken since Sunday. But
sure.
Weird situation, not one that you see every day. Usually that's a fan coming out of the stands dancing around like that in that part of the end zone, not a player walking away from his team. Right,
absolutely. As you see on the screen here, hit that like button, drop a share. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, blow up the comments. We got some in here from Myron, our boy Myron, who he was one of the ones asking if Great Western was coming to Ontario. Hopefully it will soon. Stuck at work, but wanted to check in and say, hey, SquadCast gang. Also, Clark and Max, have a good show, fellas. Thank you. Robin Wildy says, would Chris Jones even think Mayfield would be a top 5 quarterback in the CFL? LOL. So obviously just a little comment there from Chris Jones.
Speaking about guys that hopefully get healthy, I hope Baker Mayfield can find a way to get healthy and come back and lead the Cleveland Browns somewhere anyways.
For sure. Nelson Hakowitz checking in. What is going on, Nelson? He says, I want to see two teams tie and get into the playoffs. It would be the most CFL thing to happen to the NFL. That'd be funny. Chad Isaac says a perfect hit did a number on him, and he hasn't been mentally stable since. So that's kind of what I was referring to earlier. And I think we both had some interesting little things to say there about Antonio Brown, Max. I don't disagree with you whatsoever. So yeah, anyways, we'll move on. Again, thanks for checking in on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok. If you're on TikTok, tap the screen, hit the share button, hit the follow button. I see James from Offside Talk is checking in over on TikTok saying, get after it, fellas. Oh, we're getting after it. New Brunswick Junior Hockey, Max, there's a quick question before we move on to the NHL. He says, which New York/New Jersey team has the brighter future, the Jets or the Giants?
Can I wait till the draft to see that? I mean, it would suggest the Jets.
Let's defer
right?
to the second half. Let's defer to the second half.
I think if I got to pick, though, it's got to be the Jets. We're starting to see Zach Wilson kind of emerge from his shell a little bit. Everybody was talking, oh, he's the next Johnny Manziel. He's the next this, he's the next that. Let's give the kid a little bit of time here. I mean, he's definitely shown a little bit better over the last few games, especially since he's come back from injury. They had the Bucks on the ropes. Remember when Antonio Brown left that game, it was 24-10 in favor of the Jets, and the Bucks doing what the Bucks do with the greatest quarterback of all time and Tom Brady. They found a way to come back and win the football game. But I think the New York Jets have a little bit more stability going forward than their counterparts, the New York Giants. But we'll see how it goes. I just really don't trust Joe Judge and Daniel Jones to be the ones that right the ship, unfortunately, for the Double Blue.
I agree with you. I think the Giants are a pretty big mess. If we look down here at the eliminated, this is the approximate draft order. The Giants and Jets are both probably going to finish with a top 5 pick. Could a big quarterback in the draft turn the tide for the Giants? Could the Jets utilize a pick to maybe trade? I don't think that's the smart move. I'm just asking. I've heard rumors of Russell Wilson. I've heard rumors of, you said the Browns earlier. I heard rumor today. I saw a Photoshop edit of Russell Wilson in a Browns uniform. Looked a little goofy. But either way, Russell Wilson's name is going to be out there, and I think he would like to. I don't think he would say no to going to a big spotlight team like the New York Giants, for example. Him and Saquon Barkley could join forces. Maybe you get a free agent receiver or two. You load up some spots that are weaknesses. Who knows? I mean, he's not going to be any worse than what he is right now with the Seahawks, who are just below at 6-10 and 7th in the draft order at the moment.
I think Russ wants to go where Russ isn't going to get hit as much. And knowing what I know about the New York Giants offensive line, it's certainly not at the top of the league, but it's not the worst either. I mean, again, you see what they can address in terms of the draft, in terms of needs. And I don't know, when I look at Russell Wilson, if we get into trade rumors, if it's not Aaron Rodgers going to Denver, I could definitely see Denver going out and finding a way to add Russell Wilson. As the Denver Broncos, you see them at number 10 on that eliminated side of things. It's not a bad football team. You've got some really good weapons there. Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick. You got a number of weapons there for just a quarterback that has the ability to deliver to them, right? And that's just unfortunately what they haven't had. Teddy Bridgewater clearly hasn't been the answer, so we'll see what happens. But I think I know a couple of Denver Broncos fans that certainly wouldn't be hurt by Russell Wilson potentially crossing over into the AFC and joining their squad.
John Elway always finds a way to get the quarterback, doesn't he?
Well, not totally.
He did with Peyton Manning.
It's been a few years since he's had a quarterback.
He did it once. Just looking above the old Denver Broncos there, Max, the Washington football team reports come out. They will have a name by February 2nd, not the football team anymore.
Just in time for my birthday.
May I suggest the Washington football squad?
Okay.
Imagine if they just changed it from team to squad and just kept it that way. That'd be stupid.
The ultimate troll job.
Let's hear it in the comments. I want to hear it right now on TikTok, on Facebook, on YouTube. What should Washington call their football team? Should it be the Warriors? Should it be the Wolves? The Red Wolves, I think, were a big one last year.
I wouldn't hate that. When I saw some concept art of what the logo could look like, looks like an NFL squad.
Yeah. Obviously in Washington, they're the Capitals, they're the Nationals. There's, a lot of presidential feelings to their other sports teams. Could there be some sort of tie in there? I don't know. But anyways,
The
interesting that they
Washington
said that.
Bidens.
The Washingtons, George Washington.
The Washingtons. Nice.
The Washington George Washingtons. Let's move on to the NHL, because why not? This just blew my mind. I saw our girl Ava's watching, and I just saw earlier today that the Rangers have kind of moved into first place in the NHL. Now,
can we not bury the lead though? The NHL's back. Remember, like, we're just getting back on footing here with the NHL before we get into the standings.
I'll take that. Yeah, you're right.
It's been a kind of a long 10, 12, 14 days with very minimal to no hockey. So it's kind of nice to have some games back on the tube. That's for sure.
It's fantastic. Anyway,
sorry.
You know what else I'm bearing the lead on is Max is letting me talk about standings. Yeah.
It's January. You can do that.
Yes. Okay. We're into it now.
I mean, we're only 34 games in. It's still pretty early, especially.
It's still super early. Now, obviously, with postponed games, who knows, it would have been a little closer to 40, but not that much, really. The New York Rangers, again, are getting hot, and what can you say about Shesterkin? And they're getting some production out of guys like Chris Kreider that I don't think a lot of people anticipated. And then Adam Fox setting records, literally 34 games into a season. He has some of the most assists by a Rangers defenseman ever. The guy's on fire. I saw a stat today. I think it was most assists by a New York Rangers defenseman, and he has like 34 or something like that. Like, it's like he's like fifth in the list or something. He's getting close. So they're getting big performances by some of their bigger name players, but Shesterkin has got to get Vezina candidate nods, I would think. Yes, like he's got to be top 3.
Yeah.
You're not so sure?
UC Saros is a lot better and deserves a lot more recognition. But yeah, Shesterkin's okay. No, I'm kidding.
Saros can be one of the 3. I said top 3. I didn't say top 1.
Well,
Jack Campbell's in the conversation too, if we're going to go down that road.
Okay, sure.
Okay. Do you want me to show you the numbers?
Long way to go.
Do you want me to show you the numbers? We can
like
look
you said, we're not even halfway through a season.
Jack Campbell, Charlie Lindgren, by the way, he needs to get nods. Like, I mean, he's putting up huge numbers.
What do you mean? How many games has he played? He's
probably
played
like 3.
See, this is what I don't like about this with the whole goalie set. 3 or more games and you're potentially in the leaderboard. Like, how's that not escalate throughout the year where it's like, okay, we're at the 30 game mark. You have to be at 10 games played.
We can check out the numbers. I would say 15 would be my minimum right now.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Like, it's got to be more than 3. Like, that's
you got to have played at least around half of.
By the way, Charlie Lindgren looks a lot like Adam Driver from Star Wars from that picture.
I hope he's been told that before.
Kind of, sort of. Like, if you squint the right way, he looks like he's messed up a Jedi or two.
He might have. Anyway,
I don't watch Star Wars, but
he might go to cosplay. He might go to cosplay events and just punch Jedis in the face. Who knows?
Possibly, he might be that guy, pal.
Could
but
be.
Yeah, when it comes to Shesterkin, I really like him. Obviously, he's been a guy that's been highly touted for a couple of years in New York, and he's just doing it, man. You look at his agility in the crease. You look at just how technically sound he is. There might not be, other than Andrei Vasilevsky, maybe. There might not be a more technically sound goaltender across the entire National Hockey League as young as he is, too. That's the other thing. This guy's only going to get better. Like, people that are stands of Henrik Lundqvist, like, you might be looking out in 15 years, you might completely forget about him based on what Shesterkin is poised to do in his entire New York Rangers career. And I know it's early, but regardless, this kid is just fun to watch. And I mean, there's not much else you can say about him.
Yeah, no, and you mentioned technically sound. I think he might even be getting a little bit more than Vasilevsky. I think Vasilevsky still gets away with a little bit of his size and the good team in front of him. And I think Vasilevsky.
No, who doesn't get away with that?
Jack Campbell. Oh, yeah. I still maintain that Vasilevsky is the best goalie in the league. So me saying this is not a slight against Vasilevsky, but I think Shesterkin has a little bit less natural size and stuff to work with compared to what Vasilevsky had. Also, I was laughing at the memes of Vasilevsky's equipment size during the playoffs against the Montreal Canadiens. But I've seen some stuff this year, and I'm like, oh, wait, no, like his equipment is way too big. Like, somebody's got to look into this.
Remember when that was a big rage, though? Remember when, like, J.S. Giguère won the Conn Smythe in 2003, and everybody's like, well, he didn't have to move to stop all those pucks. potentially, but like and then remember it was like goalie pads were getting measured like on a game by game basis. I think they might need to return to that because there's some guys that might be cutting a couple
just
of
his
corners.
chest protector. His chest protector's like
massive.
It's huge. He's not a big guy. He's skinny. He's tall. He's not fat. Like he's not like Robin Lehner, for example, who's a big boy.
Wow, that's wow.
Well, Robin Lehner's a big boy.
Guess we're doing that 2022 New
I'm
Year's
a big
resolution.
boy.
Maybe Robin Lehner's gonna drop a couple of LBs, man. It's fine. You just don't need to shame him for it.
I'm just saying he's a bigger boy compared to some other goalies that are really scrawny.
He's a unit, as they say.
He's a unit. You're right.
He's a unit.
Let's wrap up the Metro with Washington. Alex Ovechkin having a renaissance season. He's in top 5 assists almost, and he's never like that. He's always a Cy Young winner with a lot of goals and not many assists. Carolina Hurricanes, of course, are right there. They've played fewer games, so that's an interesting little tidbit.
Was the Cy Young a joke? I can't tell.
You've never heard the Cy Young thing before?
No. I thought that you were referencing like the Rocket Richard Trophy for goals.
No, Cy Young thing.
Mixed it up.
So when a Cy Young winner in baseball has like 21 wins and 3 losses, like he wins the Cy Young. That's like 21 goals and 3 assists in hockey. So they're a Cy Young winner is what you say. The guy has a lot of goals and no assists. They look like a Cy Young winner.
Missed that one.
Sorry. I thought you had heard that one. You're the king of references. I thought you would have heard
I know. I missed it. I wasn't there on that day of school.
That's
why I'm going back to school.
Speaking of king of references, I binge watched Ted Lasso over the holidays.
About friggin' time.
I finished the whole show in 3 days on my own. I might have neglected my children even to watch. You
definitely did, and that's okay.
It's okay. I had to get through it.
You get one exception. It's Ted Lasso.
Max started throwing references at me as I was watching it. I'm like, man, this entire show is just like blurred together right now. I can't even remember all the references. There was like 40 references an episode. Like it's impossible to keep up with how many references.
Jason Sudeikis, he's a hell of a writer.
Frick, he's good, man. Pittsburgh is a little surprising, I think, considering they had a rough start just with some injuries. But they're right there now.
This was my team. I give you crap about you saying Carolina wasn't going to make the playoffs. I said Pittsburgh wasn't going to. True to what I did say, though, they were off to a bit of a rocky start because of the injuries. But they just found a way.
Oh yeah, and found a way with like you said, a really scrapped together lineup. Like
Evan Rodriguez.
Yes, Evan Rodriguez.
Wow.
He's winning teams' fantasies. Like he's winning people's fantasy leagues this year, Evan Rodriguez, with how good he's been. Like a random waiver wire pickup. Guys almost
Pascal Dupuis 2.0.
Oh, former Maple Leaf, by the way, Evan Rodriguez. He was
you guys probably should have held on to him.
He was included in the
friggin' Kyle.
In the Kapanen trade.
So hey, there's your next TikTok. You just do like an Evan Rodriguez thing, and then like, dude, what the
what the fuck is up, Kyle?
Yeah, exactly. There you go. You're welcome. Keep the
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Columbus, Philadelphia, New Jersey. New Jersey just got a huge blow. Nico Hischier and Dougie Hamilton both have broken bones. They're out for weeks. So that's a big blow to the
I thought you meant that they announced that they're going to be wearing their third jerseys a lot more than originally scheduled. That would also be a big blow if that was a thing.
The Islanders, I mean, they're 5-2-3 in their last 10, but they need to.
This is Vancouver Canucks potential for me with the Islanders. Look, they've only played 28 games, right? They've got the lowest amount of games played in the entire conference. They'll use those games in hand, and if they're finally kind of getting to that place where they're going to be a little bit healthier, I could easily see them being a team that rattles off 7-8 in a row. Easily, without a doubt. So I'm not worried about the Isles yet.
They catch up to the Rangers. They got 6 games. They win all 6. That's 12 points. They're above Philly, at least. They're getting close. So if they put together a string, absolutely, I can see them still scrapping together at least a bubble look, like getting close to the fringe of playoffs. The Atlantic is Tampa, Florida, Toronto battling it out, and then Boston, Detroit. Now, here's the thing to keep in mind is that it's looking like Boston and Detroit are still above Philly. So there should still be 4 teams from the Atlantic who make the playoffs, not 5 from the Metro. It's a battle, but one thing that could legitimately happen, now Boston has 5 games in hand on Detroit, but Detroit, surprising me at least, Max, you can maybe comment on this, out of the Atlantic, the Detroit being where they are is probably the biggest surprise of the season for me almost. I know there's a few around the league, but they're one of them for me.
I don't know if I'm all that surprised, right? We look at the fruits of Stevie Y's labor. What was his calling card? He knows what he wants in the draft. And we've talked about Detroit and how much they've been screwed over, right? They've lost a couple of draft lotteries. Maybe they should have had number 1 or number 2 overall picks. What do? They say, forget about it. We're going to go off the board. We're going to take this kid named Moritz Seider from Germany. Everybody was surprised at that one. And look at this kid. He's easily in the Calder discussion as well in terms of defensemen. And then you go out and you hit on a kid like Lucas Raymond, who's potentially the next Elias Pettersson. Like it's about, at least for Stevie Y anyways, it's about identifying talent, sticking to your guns. Maybe you're not taking the guy that's the consensus pick in the draft, but who you know is going to, again, maybe be that bit of a longer term project, and really not even all that long term. What was Seider drafted? 2018, 2019?
Yeah, I was at the draft. It was in Vancouver.
Yeah, 2-3 years to get to where he's at already. Lucas Raymond, we know that Stevie Y, in terms of player development, is going to invest everything that he can into it. I'm not all that surprised that, at least of the teams that have been bottom dwellers over the last few seasons, and we'll get to the Anaheim Ducks later, I'm sure. But again, a team that's been hitting on their draft picks, that's the biggest difference right now, right? You look at Buffalo, you look at Ottawa, you look at Montreal. Those are teams that haven't exactly drafted super well. I know that Owen Power is not with the Sabres yet, and so we don't know what that looks like. But regardless, I like what I'm seeing from Detroit, and I'm not all that surprised.
And another thing to keep in mind, again, Boston has had some, I mean, they're 16-10-2. That's not a terrible record.
Games in hand, though, too, right? Like 3 more games. If they win all 3, like they're all of a sudden right up at the 40-point mark.
They've been having some underachievement is what I was going to get at. Like their goalies are now hot. Like Swayman and Allmark's numbers now are good. A little bit of a struggle to kind of get their feet under them at the beginning of the year. Taylor Hall hasn't been overly all that great.
Want to know what the biggest thing he's missing is? David friggin' Krejci.
David Krejci, absolutely.
David Krejci is a big hole on that Bruins team.
I said it before the season started. I think it was on a TikTok video, but I have it on record somewhere that David Krejci was going to be missed more than almost anybody on any team across the league. I just think he had such a huge impact on that team.
Pecorine, but that's fine. Good try.
But he's not getting. You're not missing him right now. UC Saros.
I miss him. Of course I do.
But UC Saros is wrecking the league, though.
Yeah, it doesn't mean I don't miss Pekka.
That's fair. Okay, that's fine. That's fair. But I think Boston has. I still think they have a level because Nick Foligno too hasn't done much since coming over in free agency. They have a blue line that
scored his first goal though.
Did score his first goal. You're right. Yep. Let's move on to the West. We'll let you have the run of the Central here. I said in a video on TikTok the other day, this was a division that was being run by the Minnesota Wild, and now St. Louis has been hot. Nashville, for whatever reason, can't lose a game, and I'll let you touch on that.
Just talked about it.
I know
why they can't.
And lose. Colorado hasn't played as many games, so they got the games in hand, so they could easily catch up. But this is all of a sudden turning into a 4 or maybe even 5 horse race. Whereas earlier in the year, Minnesota was kind of just sitting pretty with Colorado not being healthy and missing games. And now it's kind of a dogfight. There's a lot of parity now in this division. In the last, I'm going to say 10, 15 games, it's kind of evened out a little bit with Arizona and Chicago kind of losing ground a lot. And Dallas, I don't know what Dallas is. That's a whole show. I don't know what Dallas is. But Max, talk about these top 5, I guess, with Winnipeg included in there too.
Yeah, St. Louis, I mean, everybody, the narrative on them earlier in the year was Jordan Binnington's too hot of a head. He can't keep his cool under pressure. And all of a sudden, look at them, right? 33 games into the season, they've all of a sudden found themselves on the top of the division, even though it's a tight race at the top. Man, oh man, a team that is capable of getting hot, but also getting healthy. Robert Thomas was missing for a while. David Perron was missing for a while. They were missing some notable names that were really, again, kind of, there's not much you can do to make up. You don't replace those guys, especially with a team that St. Louis has had the last few seasons. They're not exactly the cream of the crop in terms of their prospect cupboard anymore. So to get those guys back, to get them healthy and firing on all cylinders and getting the goaltending that they've needed. And you mentioned off the top there with, who was it that stepped in there? Charlie Lindgren for a few games for the St. Louis Blues.
Let me put that up here.
Just finding a way to, is it Charlie Lindgren? Is that who it is?
Yeah. Former Montreal Canadian, Charlie.
Yep.
Lindgren.
So stepping in, maybe pull up his numbers though, Clark, if you can give a click on him. So just so I know how many games he's played. And not getting all the credit in the world to look at that. They don't even have his picture updated. He's still with the Canadians. So he's played 5 games and he's 5-0, right? That's 5 wins. That's huge. But when it comes to, like I said, the St. Louis Blues, this is a team that, again, Craig Berube is still steering the ship. He was the guy that found a way back in 2019 when they won the Stanley Cup, when they were last place pretty much at this exact time of the year, albeit a few more games played even, which made the hill a lot harder to climb. And again, doing the same kind of thing with a similar group. Vladimir Tarasenko, if he wants a trade, I mean, he's forcing St. Louis's hand a little bit. Yeah. Exactly. He's certainly earned it if he wants it. But again, you're playing on a first place team in the Central. I wonder if that's enough to mend the fences that had been wounded for a little while there. And then, sitting in the 2 seed, you got my Nashville Predators. They ripped off 7 games in a row right before kind of COVID shut things down a little bit. And they were one of the teams that were ravaged by COVID, missing 6-7 regulars and had to play a back-to-back against Colorado, who was also facing some COVID issues. As well as Chicago, and they mopped them up en route to a 7-game heater before the break. And I think that's the thing that maybe bugs me the most a little bit. If I look at the standings right now, and again, I'm not super biased, I'm just a little biased. I'm a little bit worried about my guys slipping. I'm a little worried about them maybe slipping into that 4 or 5 spot, which would not be a horrible spot to finish by any stretch of the imagination, but that's super tough when you're playing such great hockey and then the unwanted pause hits. Really kills your momentum. And they've played a few games, obviously, since the pause now, a record of 1-1-1. And like I said, they've still been playing good hockey. I just look at the last
10, though, too. 8-1-1. Like,
exactly.
They've earned a lot of respect from me. And Max, I never said that I didn't think they were going to be bad this year. But we had this conversation before the year. You
competitive-ish.
Competitive-ish. That's exactly the term you used. And I have major respect for how they're playing this year. One thing to note, and just to look at some of these, these top 4 or 5 teams. Let's go with the top 4 because it proves my point. They have the lowest winning percentage of these 4 teams. Now, I don't know if that's a sign, but just something to keep in mind, especially with Colorado having played 5 fewer games with the highest of this division.
See, and that's where, like I said, I'm not too worried about it at this point of the season. I'm worried about it when it gets to that 50-60 game mark. That's right. When you start looking at the winning percentages and dissecting of seeing, okay, where are some things that maybe plagued them, because they had a pretty slow start too. They were something like they were 2-6-2 or whatever it was. It was looking like it was on a road to a downward spiral. But UC Saros found a way. He's easily becoming one of the top 5 goaltenders in the NHL if he isn't already. He's proved that he can be sustainably successful. The biggest knock on him is his size. And Jeff Merrick had a really good quote on his podcast. I want to say it was a few weeks ago when they were talking about the Predators and the recent surge that they'd had. UC Saros doesn't make any accidental saves. He doesn't have the luxury of being any sort of big. There's always net to shoot on UC Saros, but he's so athletic. He's so quick. And he's another guy, when you talk about Shesterkin, in terms of technically sound goaltenders, he has to be. He doesn't have a choice. He doesn't have the ability to just all of a sudden raise up and be 5 inches taller than the crossbar and cover net accidentally. There is no accidental saves with UC Saros. So when it comes to him and the body of work he's putting together, without a doubt, he's certainly the Nashville Predators MVP any given night. And that's what I got to say about them. The Minnesota Wild, man, oh man. Regardless, I know they've lost the top spot in the division, but again, it's still too early. They're playing some really good hockey. The Winter Classic, I know, was probably disappointing for a lot of locals that wanted to go out and see them win. But Kirill Kaprizov, the future of the franchise, the present and the future of the franchise, he pucked out, as they'd say, right? Balled out, pucked out. Sounds about right. Is that bad? I don't know. I think it's good.
Got to just be careful how you say it.
Pucked out with a P.
With a P.
Got to enunciate. Anyway,
shout out to our boy Isha with Hockey Podcast Network saying Happy New Year. You too, buddy. We're on tomorrow night. The Leafs Oilers, if it happens.
As of now.
We've already had, 4 canceled games that we were supposed to be doing on the Hockey Podcast.
We mushed it, man. We joined up with the Hockey Podcast Network. We got a game in. It was a fantastic game.
We got one game. It was great.
And then all of a sudden, things just got shut down.
We've had 1 or 2 NHL games at least, and 2 or 3 World Junior games that have been canceled that we signed up for. So we're getting there. We'll get back on there.
We put our names on the ledger. It's just for whatever reason the games haven't happened.
We've been unlucky. We've been a little
Colorado
unlucky.
Man. Darcy Kemper. He's got to be the answer, and he's got to be healthy. I mean, you look at Pavel Fancouz, he could be a bit of an answer there, but. I know they got games in hand, but you gotta win those games too. And I look at Colorado, and they're still obviously a very strong team. It's a team that can easily be one of those ones that rips off 7-8 in a row. But yeah, when you're scrolling down the list and having a tough time finding Darcy Kemper, it's going to be a telltale sign by the end of the season. Let's just say that. Maybe
Let me put the filter in here so that it's 15 games, because I know Kemper wasn't that far down. There
Good
he is.
call. Yeah.
So
So
he's
at
got a
19,
909 with a 273. I mean, pretty pedestrian. I mean, that's average.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not terrible. You'll win games with that, but it's not UC Saros at 925 with a 224.
Nope,
it's not Shesterkin up at the top with a 936. It's not my boy Jack Campbell at the very top, leading both categories. Just saying.
I can't even cheer against Jack Campbell. I like the guy a lot.
It's hard, right? Like, he's the Ted Lasso.
Just back up. Exactly. Just back up the Brinks truck for him. But salary cap? What?
That's the problem.
Just back it up.
That's the biggest problem.
It's a problem for a team that, again, $45 million and 4 players, whatever.
I'm hoping that we have a good year this year with him, because I'm worried now that
you're going to lose him. That's the thing. If he continues on this pace, you simply cannot afford him unless you trade a Mitch or a Willie, which, again, does that make your team better or worse?
Or Muzzin or somebody like that. But
yeah, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. That's going to be a really crappy time for you guys when you lose in the first round again. Anyways,
I'm just hoping that he has a good year this year and we have a wonderful time with him while he's here. Also, a lot of people, I made a video recently about stats.
Oh yeah, look who's right below him.
And a lot of people pointed this out, like, hey, would you rather have Freddie Anderson right now or Mrazek and Nick Ritchie? And I'm like, oh. Well, there is a caveat to that, and it is that, Freddie Anderson the last 2 years, I'll go on a small rant, Max. I promise I won't be long here.
Sounds good, because we haven't even had a commercial break yet.
Yeah, we should do that. We have, in the last 2 years, he had an under 900 save percentage with the Leafs. He was injury prone. He couldn't stay healthy for the team. It just wasn't happening there anymore with him. And this, I'm going to say, he's having this good of a season because he had a change of scenery. He's now in Carolina, different scenario, different situation, different market. That's why he's having a good year. So good for him. This is good for him. And who knows, Carolina, it's a different structure in front of him. And it's good for him. I don't know if he would have. You can't just say that he would have had.
I think you guys just ran him out of town.
I
think you guys did that.
I'm not going to disagree with
collectively.
That's partially it. But what I'm saying is, Max, is that if he would have been on the Leafs this year, I could almost guarantee you he wouldn't have a 929 and a 192. That's all I'm saying. Jack Campbell.
You also picked them not to make the playoffs.
Well,
you blew it.
I blew it
on both fronts.
That was bad. Let's take a commercial break on that.
Let's do that. Good call. Be back in a couple.
We will be back in just a. Oh, get out of here. What's going on? Oh, I see.
Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. BDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
Everyday hoop life.
Is it time to take your event online? Bring it to IKS Live. We've got a fully customized virtual event platform with remote guest support for your next fundraiser, talk show, conference, performance, and more. IKS Live offers live streaming to Facebook Live and YouTube and pre-recorded capabilities, both in our studio with green screen available and on location with pre-production and post-production services. IKS Live, the proud producer of The Rod Peterson Show and The Recovery Hour. Visit us at ikslive.ca.
Nice. Good transition. It worked. You're muted. There we go. All right, let's do it. Let's get back right in. Let's get right back into her because we got to wrap up.
We have 3 minutes.
We have 3 minutes. You want to end at 9? Like you want to be hard out at 9?
Well, yeah, wouldn't you if the Leafs started at 9?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just kidding. We've missed a lot of stuff. It's fine. They play better when I don't watch anyways. I've learned that about the Nashville Predators as well, this 2021-2022 campaign.
that's fair. Let's look at the Pacific and then we'll just rattle through the rest of our topics. How about that?
Cool.
Vegas is rolling and they don't even have a full team. You mentioned it earlier, Max. Can you give me that quick update what you mentioned before the show started about what Vegas has got going on right now?
Thicker than a Snicker Robin Leonard is what they got going on. No, I'm
okay.
just kidding. Max Pacioretty is getting Nikita Kucherov / Patrick Kane. Likely is probably what's happening here. $7 million on the shelf. Max is 33 years old. Having a very good season, by the way. What has he got, Clark? Something to the tune of almost a point a game. Even though he did have a bit of an injury.
Look here.
Yeah, had a bit of an injury spell earlier in the season, but regardless, he's having a good campaign, and now he's out indefinitely, having an operation on his wrist. Clearly, this clears up a well-publicized issue for the Vegas Golden Knights when they picked up Jack Eichel and his $10 million salary, that the Vegas Golden Knights were going to have to make some cap decisions. Well, should they choose to shelf Max Pacioretty until the playoffs, which, I mean, you look at Vegas this year, it's kind of been the story of they've persevered through injury. They persevered through pretty much everything and are still leading the Pacific Division, albeit maybe not the strongest division in hockey. You look at former Regina Pat, Chandler Stevenson, leading the charge as being a big catalyst for it. But Max Pacioretty, 21 points, 16 games, clearly a very, very important part of that team and somebody that they'll want to have healthy for the playoffs when I think they undoubtedly make it, regardless of if he's in the lineup or not. And especially if they're looking at welcoming back Jack Eichel sooner than anticipated. They're saying that he's possibly going to be back after the Olympic break. And I know it's not an Olympic break anymore, given all the postponed games that they're going to have to make up. But regardless, Max Pacioretty and his $7 million on the shelf means that they only have to clear about $3 million in cap space creatively. And knowing the way that it's gone for Vegas this year, they might have another long-term injury that they're able to shelf as well in advance of the playoffs to welcome back Jack Eichel. So yeah, very interesting scenario.
One thing I will say about Vegas, and you kind of nailed it, but Chandler Stevenson, 34 points in 34 games. His line is Mark Stone and Max Pacioretty. Yeah. Those guys have not even played 20 games. Like neither of them have played 20 games yet. Yeah. And they're both well over a point per game, each of them. And they've been missing pretty much. I don't think that line's been together for more than maybe 10 or 12 games all season long. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if Jack Eichel gets onto this lineup, does he go to Marchessault and Smith's line and not Stevenson and Stone and Pacioretty? Because I think everyone's talking about Eichel, Pacioretty, and Stone. That's the best line in hockey. I don't think Eichel's going to be on that line. I think he's going on the second line.
Without a doubt.
Not that Chandler Stevenson's better than him. I don't think anyone in their right mind would say that Stevenson is better than Eichel. But look at his production with who he's playing with. I think he's got to stay with that line.
Well, and you look at the locker room. Yeah, you look at the locker room dynamic too, right? And I mean, that's something that I was listening to Gary Lawless on Jeff Merrick's podcast, and they said that Chandler's kind of been, he's a guy that's a catalyst. He's earning the respect of every single person that's dressing for the Vegas Golden Knights. And again, how much do you mess with that chemistry that's being built? And again, something that really hasn't fully been realized yet. You already alluded to it. That line has barely maybe even seen 12 to 15 games together. Imagine they get back together for a stretch run in the postseason. Imagine what they could do with Jack Eichel lining up alongside their second line. I think Vegas is kind of becoming one of those teams where you don't really define them by a line, right? It's 4 units going out and doing their jobs. But yeah, it'll be a very interesting scenario to watch. And I don't think anybody, even Chandler Stevenson, you could probably ask him, expected to have this level of production for the Vegas Golden Knights this particular season. But it's great to see him having success. That's for sure.
Yeah. Shout out to our Regina Pat brethren on the Vegas Golden Knights. We got Chandler Stevenson, Jake Lecision, and Adam Brooks all hanging out on Vegas right now. Anaheim, I said earlier, Detroit might have been the surprise of the season. Anaheim might be the surprise of the season. They are not only having a good season, they're second in the division. Now, again, they've played 5 more games than Calgary. So that's something, and Calgary's right there. But Anaheim's playing great. The young guys are playing awesome. Zegras, Milano's having a good season. Their defenseman, Fowler, Shattenkirk's having a renaissance season for himself. They have a good team all around. Judd Gibson is a wall. So what else can you say about Anaheim other than them and Detroit, I think, are kind of neck and neck for surprises of the season in my books. I know you said Detroit maybe wasn't so surprising for you, but to me, those are the two surprises. Calgary and Edmonton, Battle of Alberta. I don't know if you wanted to say anything there. Sorry.
Oh, of course I did. It's the Anaheim Ducks, man. That's my
Go
former
ahead.
squad. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, well, not really.
It's mine too, in
I'm
fairness.
looking at a Paul Kariya jersey right now, but
Yeah.
no, and one maybe key notable name as well too, right? We look at the parallels between Anaheim and Detroit. It's a stud young defenseman in Jamie Drysdale as well, who's really kind of, I guess, elevated himself into, I don't want to say star status yet, but as a early, I guess. You didn't expect Jamie Drysdale to maybe be in the league as early as he was, right? Would that be fair to say? You maybe say that he's...
Yeah, I think with Anaheim, they had a really good top six defensive group, really, honestly. Even when they weren't that great, they still had, Fowler, Manson, Lindholm, Shattenkirk. They had, I think, Del Zotto last year. Like, they had some vets.
Cale Fleury, too.
Hayden Fleury.
Sorry, Hayden Fleury.
Jacob Larson's there. So the only reason I would say I didn't see him making the team is because I don't think they needed to rush him, but he kind of forced them just with how good he is.
Well, exactly, right? And then you look at it from the perspective of, I guess, again, right? It's young studs really, again, elevating themselves into positions of this isn't an old man's league anymore, right? This isn't your grandpa's NHL where the 30 to 35-year-old group is running the show. This is the 19, 20, 21-year-olds. If you're a team that boasts a lot of these young, hungry players, you're the ones that are going to have success, right? And again, albeit maybe this is a year ahead of schedule for Anaheim, but their fans and the type of exciting brand of hockey that they're playing, spearheaded by Trevor Zegras, it's something to be welcomed, right? I mean, you look at Orange County and you look at the team they struggle to draw sometimes. If you watch the Anaheim Ducks and you watch their games, it's never typically a full building, but when they play exciting hockey, you tend to see the fruits of your labor in terms of the marketing and the season ticket sales start to maybe elevate alongside with it. When the hockey gets more exciting, the business becomes more exciting. So for the Samuelis, they've hit on some draft picks, and it's very much like Detroit, right? If you have good draft picks and they pan out, you're going to be in a position a little bit better earlier than you anticipated.
Martin Madden Jr. deserves a lot of credit in Anaheim for the team that he's drafted, because he has drafted great. They are hitting on a lot of guys outside of the first round, especially too. It's not just first rounders; those have been good, but they've
Olin Zellweger, another guy outside of the first round that made an impact in his limited World Junior sample size.
Exactly. Isaac Lundestrom is a guy I think they got in the second round who's playing nice hockey this year. I mean, he's not blowing anybody away, but I think he's got like 20 points maybe this year, 19, something like that. So that they're hitting on some guys. And Martin Madden Jr. was a candidate, or rumored to be a candidate, for the Montreal Canadiens because he's French. So there you go.
Couple of former Regina Pats while we're on the theme of it too, right?
Wow.
Josh Mahura in the system. Steele. I think Steele hasn't exactly lived up to the expectations I think most people had, but they were lofty coming out of junior, right? Playing alongside Adam Brooks. They were such a dynamic duo. It was going to be really tough for him to achieve the level of success. But again, right, Chandler Stevenson has also kind of proven that sometimes it clicks at 25 years old. Sometimes it clicks at 21. Sometimes it clicks at 27. It just is what it is.
He might have to be a guy. I think we've talked about this in the past with other players, but he might have to be a guy who kind of changes his game up a little bit, because he was so dynamic offensively, so smart offensively. And now he's on a third line most nights in Anaheim, where maybe he has to be a bit more of a checking forward, and maybe that's not his style necessarily. So
4 goals, 4 assists in 27 games. I mean, again, it's not exactly the offensive outburst that you'd want to maybe see from a guy who put up 100 and 30 points in junior. 100 plus points multiple times in his junior career. But I think he's a guy that could get there. He certainly has the skills to do it. But like you said, adaptability with his game might be the key for him going forward as he continues to develop. But
let's see this team come out of the Ryan Getzlaf era and see where Sam Steele starts.
Who's also having a renaissance year. Ryan Getzlaf.
Wow. And he's not going anywhere anytime soon the way he's playing right now.
So many Regina connections here.
Let's say Getzlaf retired, hangs him up. Sam Steele automatically moves up the depth chart. So maybe he becomes a second line center, and all of a sudden he's playing with, who knows, Ricard Raquel, and who knows, right? Like he could be playing with a lot better offensive players. And then all of a sudden he's starting to put up half a point a game or whatever. So there's more time for Sam Steele, but I hear what you're saying. Los Angeles, San Jose, Vancouver, and then Seattle, obviously in the Pacific, are at the bottom. Seattle clearly just not living up to what Vegas did, and I don't think a whole lot of people expected them to. They obviously, in their approach at their draft, didn't go as heavy as they could have. They could have had Vladimir Tarasenko. They could have had several other guys, and they didn't. But that's skipping the lead story here, which is the Vancouver Canucks. Bruce Boudreau turning this team around. They're fun again. They're scoring again. They're getting goaltending again, and all of a sudden they're 8-1-1 in their last 10. Will Vancouver somehow? Now, what's the Central going on? So they've got. It's going to be hard to get 4 teams in the Pacific. Mm-hmm. They're going to be hard pressed because right now it's kind of neck and neck, but the way Colorado is probably going to play, Winnipeg at any time could start winning games again. You never know. They got enough pieces there. Can Vancouver somehow sneak their way in?
Too early to tell. I mean, this has been a nice story.
Let's get another
but
10 or 15 games out of them, I think.
Exactly, because you look at it, I mean, typically when a head coach comes in mid-season, you always see that little bit of a surge, right? I mean, Bruce has had a great impact on them so far. The sample size is good to start, 8-1-1. I mean, he's only been around for, 9 games, though? So I think it's, regardless, either way, they've brought themselves at least back into the conversation. You see the Oilers sliding heavily here. This is a team that could do it. I mean, they have to continue to find themselves. I haven't really paid a ton of attention to the Canucks, but you bring up their stats right there. Pettersson still hasn't quite popped off yet. Brock Besser's still trying to find his footing. Bo Horvat has been really, really good since Bruce has come into play. And JT Miller's he's
so
just
good.
So good. And I mean, again, though, if you look at the Canucks, is this one of those things where you say, okay, the type of market that we're in, we made the coaching change. Does Francesco Aquilini keep this band together, or does he look at a trade deadline and say, you know what, I could get the moon and the stars for a JT Miller right now? Because I believe he doesn't have a horrible contract by any stretch of the imagination for his level of production as well. It's just one of those things where, again, another 10 to 15 games is really needed out of the Canucks. And if they go 8-1-1 in their next 10, well, then all of a sudden you're looking at a team that's potentially competing for the division, not even just a playoff spot. So
yeah, there's JT, 2 years left.
At 5.25 with a little bit of term. Oh my goodness. He would potentially fetch an even bigger, he would fetch a way bigger return than a guy like even Philip Forsberg would. Like it's unbelievable. The impact that he's having.
And he can play center too. Forsberg's not a center, so
no.
There's that's little.
He also doesn't have a sick mustache like Philip Forsberg, but it's fine. Moving on.
Fair.
Oh, Antonio Brown.
Antonio Brown snuck in here. Yeah, he snuck in.
Antonio Brown likes JT Miller as well.
Anyways, we'll wrap up our NHL talks tonight. One thing we wanted to mention. Well, first off, like and share if you're watching on Facebook. Like and comment if you're on YouTube. We are going to be giving away a Great Western Original 16 prize pack this week. We're going to be putting up the contest when we have time tomorrow, maybe the next day. So watch for that on all of our social media feeds, including our Instagram page. We'll be putting that up there. It's going to be some cases of beer, which we won't say in the post itself. So
it's a prize package.
It's a prize package.
Includes liquid things that you can consume.
Yeah.
How's that?
Plus some shirts, some beer glasses, a water bottle, and some SquadCast golf balls. Reverse retro, our old logo, everything. Got the original stamp of approval on there. So that's going to be coming up right away. So stay tuned. But hit that like button, hit that share button while you're at it. One thing we wanted to touch on, Ken Rosenthal said some stuff. Max, I don't know did you actually see what he actually said?
No, I didn't.
I haven't either. I haven't been able to find it. But all I know is from what I've heard, it wasn't much. The MLB Network has decided to basically cut him, fire him, release him. I don't know how you want to say it.
The MLB Network didn't. Rob Manfred did.
Right, but that is owned by Rob Manfred. He runs the show.
I hate Rob Manfred.
One thing that I found really interesting is that I've asked a couple of MLB Network reporters, analysts to come on this show and the Rod Peterson show. They can't. They aren't allowed to do media right now. Now, Ken Rosenthal is unique because he's on The Athletic. And he's also on Fox Sports, so he has other outlets that he can go on.
Well, then get him.
Well, I might have to now.
It's your New Year's resolution. Go get.
What else has he got going on? Anyways, it says he's been there for 12 years. And then it's funny, Max, you said it earlier. I had the exact same realization. I was like, oh no, Ken Rosenthal, he's independent. He's going to start up a podcast probably and be great. But he's already on The Athletic and Fox Sports still.
All he did was open up time in his schedule. Maybe he wanted this. Maybe Ken was like, I'm going to criticize Rob. That guy doesn't have much hair. Perfect. I'm fired now from the MLB Network. Now I got a little bit more time with my family. Things are good. But yeah, he's clearly a busy guy across the baseball world. And I mean, whatever it is, like, this is journalism. Rob Manfred, like, it's so funny. If he would have read the mentions section in Twitter of his State of the League address to the fans, whatever it was, before the lockout officially, or just after the lockout was officially put in place, I'm sure he'd be firing a lot more people for some things. He kind of Eugene Melnick this one. Like, oh, sweet, you're going to send a message to one of the most beloved reporters in the game? Like, that's, good job, Rob. Nailed it. Idiot.
This is what Ava's coming in with the research. He said Manfred must strike a deal with the players or he'll ruin his legacy.
Look, he wasn't even being wrong when he said that.
No.
His legacy's already ruined. He hasn't done anything for baseball. Bring back Bob Seelig.
Also, this is interesting.
Sorry.
North Korea launches a suspected missile. That's
is it coming for us?
That's in the trending topics. I don't know, but I love seeing those trending topics just pop up, and here we go. Deshaun Watson makes a rare public appearance.
Well, no, click on that. Is the missile coming for us? We need to know.
Like us here?
Is it a nuclear one?
I don't know. Are we going to get in trouble for showing this?
Probably.
No, I think we're good.
Okay, we're good. All right, we're in good
for now.
Good stuff. Yeah.
But that's what they're testing it, so who knows?
Oh boy.
This was just an interesting little video. Shout out to Patrick Janex for sending this to us. It's got some audio on it, which I think is coming through. So this is Oscar Steen's first ever NHL goal, Max. Let's just react to it here. So you mentioned PK Subban's on the ice.
Didn't slew foot him on the way by. That's good. Good job, PK. Hey, that was kind of cool. Is that
so? For what happened here, I think the audio is coming through. It sounds like it is. He knocked it off. It was on top of the net. He goes under the net, pushes it up and over, hits Mackenzie Blackwood, and then goes in.
What do the scouts call that? That's just good hockey IQ right there. It's good hockey IQ.
It doesn't matter how they go in. Score sheet doesn't show it.
If you whacked him again, though, that was kind of dangerous. When you see it from that one angle of him just tomahawk chopping at Mackenzie Blackwood.
Yeah, well, you got to get it in.
That's right.
Anyways, that's an interesting little one coming from Patrick Janex. Shout out to Patrick. We talked about this earlier, and again, there's like a ton of videos, and I can't even get rid of it.
We know him.
Hey, that's our friend of the show, Arash Madani, and Tim McAuliffe, and Justin Dunk, friend of the show, actually.
Nice.
We haven't had Donovan Bennett on yet, but Chris Jones takes a shot at Riders quarterback Cody Fajardo. I just don't see him as a passer. So, not that that's out of context. We'll get the ads off the screen for now, but shout out 3 Down Nation. Go check him out. Chris Jones basically said what happened was he hired his former offensive coordinator when he was with the Rough Riders, Stephen McAdoo. He's now with the Edmonton Elks. And Stephen McAdoo has come back, and he is now his offensive coordinator with the Elks. So what Chris Jones was talking about was how he respects Stephen McAdoo as an offensive coordinator. He's had a track record of success everywhere he's gone. Now, if you ask a Rough Rider fan, Stephen McAdoo is a terrible offensive coordinator. But if you look at Cody Fajardo's numbers with Stephen McAdoo and without Stephen McAdoo, they're significantly worse without him. So what Chris Jones is essentially saying is, look at Cody Fajardo with Stephen McAdoo, and he's great. And now look without him, I just don't see him as much of as a passer, because look at his numbers now. And he's basically all he was doing was defending McAdoo's performance as an offensive coordinator, but it came across as him just slandering Cody Fajardo. So now everybody, of course, is saying, it's the new rivalry in the CFL: Chris Jones, Cody Fajardo. This isn't the first time a quarterback has been slighted in Saskatchewan. If you recall, Max, back when Corey Chamberlain was here, he said that Darian Durant was just okay. No, sorry, I think that might have been Chris Jones too. Hold on. That was Chris Jones too, if I'm not mistaken. I think he said he was just okay. And then Darian Durant says, oh, okay, just okay. Well, and then he went out and he got really mad and had a really good game. So anyways, just a lot of fun. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Like you said earlier, is Cody Fajardo going to come out here and be like upset? Like, I can't see Cody Fajardo getting mad. Maybe he's going to be like, oh, I guess I'll be better. Thanks for the criticism. because he's just such a nice guy. But anyways, that's just a funny little story coming out of the CFL, and I think it's much to do about nothing, more or less. I don't know. Do you have anything to say about that?
Chris Jones is back. Cool.
He's back. He's back.
I mean, I don't know.
He had to make himself known because this is going to fire everybody up.
Well, yeah, isn't he? I mean, as far as the league is concerned, right? Like, it gets clicks. For Justin Duncan, 3 Down Nation, like, again, it's a fun story, I guess, at this very dead point of the off season. There's barely a heartbeat when it comes to anything CFL at the moment. So it's drum up the headlines, do what you can, create a little controversy. Chris Jones, for albeit all of his faults, and everybody wants to criticize this, that about him, he knows a little bit of marketing. He knows. Oh, yeah. All right, here's some things I got to say to stir up the people, to be a little provocative, as they say. So yeah, I don't know. I look at it, it's Chris Jones being Chris Jones. I mean, is he kind of approaching Mike Babcock-ish territory when it comes to just like his aura, I guess, in the CFL? Like, he's accomplished some stuff. He's won 2 Grey Cups? 1?
Well, as a head coach, he's won 1, but he's won 4. He's won 4 or 5 total because he was with the Stampeders when they won a couple back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. He won with the Argonauts. He won with Montreal, I think. So he's won as defensive coordinators and other coaches. He's won several, but as a head coach, he's only won the 1.
Yeah, I don't know. He's just kind of got that aura about him where he's like, you know what? You should worship the ground that I walk on. And that's the one kind of vibe about Chris Jones that maybe, I don't know, is what it is, right? Like I said, if he's doing good things for the league by drumming up stuff like this, and he clearly doesn't care. So when it comes to this type of stuff, we'll see if he can drum up a little bit more, because Lord knows the league's going to need it. So hopefully especially after the end of he was just with the Argos, correct? I don't think he was
as a defensive coordinator. Yeah,
I don't think he was involved in the whole
defensive assistant, and then he kind of took over
special assistant to the associate general manager.
But then he took over as a play caller, so he was essentially a defensive coordinator.
Right. So. Gotcha. Either way, good stuff. Chris Jones in the headlines. Last topic, and then we'll go. We were going to talk NBA, but we got to get out of here. Brad Marchand coming out and winning Twitter a couple of days ago with his comments on the Olympics, in my opinion. You can read it for yourself. Basically, what he's saying is we put all these precautions in place, and we're quick to bring back the taxi squad, which nobody likes, basically, is what he's saying. It doesn't help anybody, but we're quick to bring that back. But we can't do a taxi squad at the Olympics. They can't honor the agreement we made before the season started. So, like, there's a swear in there too. I won't say that for the kids who are watching and reading it, even though they're reading it anyways. Sorry. But you know what? Let the players make their choice. I love what Brad Marchand says, and this is the one thing, Max, and we've all agreed. We hate Brad Marchand because he's on the Bruins, but as soon as there's a Team Canada thing involved, Brad Marchand is one of us, and I can't help but like this guy a lot of times with stuff that he says, and this is one of them. This is one of them, and this is exactly right. He is 100% correct on this. The owners said that they were going to allow them to go, and they put every hoop in the way for them to have to jump through in order for them to do it, basically making it impossible for them to go, and now they can't go, and this is messing with Marchand, Bergeron, Crosby. Some of these guys aren't going to have another chance. Fleury might have gone. Some of these guys might not get another chance to do this. Hopefully they come up with some sort of agreement to allow them to do something. If it's a World Cup, if it's a Summer Olympics, somehow they switch Summer Olympics to a Winter Olympics in hockey. I've heard rumors of that. Something to allow another best on best tournament for these guys who clearly deserve it. I don't know. What do you think, Max, on this? Yeah,
we'll out here.
Yeah, no, I echo your sentiments entirely. I think you look at in the annals of history, Flint, Michigan Mega Bowl. Just kidding. But Brad Marchand, Jose Bautista, Tom Wilson, many, many other names insert here, but my brain doesn't work. So regardless, they're the guys that you absolutely hate to play against, but if they're on your squad and emblazon your logos and wear them with pride, you absolutely love them. So like you said, when Brad Marchand puts on the maple leaf, we all love him. We love the tenacity he brings to the game, his obvious skill level, his world-class brand of Brad Marchand that really not a lot of other people can deliver. He's shifty, he's dynamic, he's got a great sound bite. He's just that guy that you want to root for when he's wearing the Canadian Maple Leaf. And like you said, there's not a lot of Father Time is undefeated, especially when it comes to hockey players. It's going to be really, really tough if these guys have to go out missing 2 straight chances at playing for Canada in the Olympics. So I'm really hoping that there's an opportunity. And I mean, how much does it suck that before Corona happened, before COVID happened, that they could have found a way to let these guys go in 2018? There could have been a way. And I think everybody, hindsight looking back on that, I'm thinking maybe even the owners have a bit of kind of remorse as, geez, that was a missed opportunity that we had within our control. And now that we can't control it, this is really, really tough to swallow for a lot of these guys that are potentially on their last opportunity. So would I like to see a World Cup of Hockey again brought back for a best on best? Absolutely. Would I like to see it maybe rejigged a little bit from the previous rendition? Maybe actually be not in September before training camp when clearly like there's not a lot of foot on the gas, but when these guys are truly at their best mid-season form, take a 2-week break in the regular season, have it be in NHL arenas where there can be some revenue generated from it. There's a lot of ways to make it happen. And I really hope they do so before the twilights come for guys like Brad Marchand, Sidney Crosby, Steven Stamkos, Max Pacioretty, Patrick Kane, like not just Canada, like there's a lot of athletes, there's a lot of NHL hockey players who are missing out potentially on their last. Zdeno Chara would have definitely been playing for Slovakia this year. Zero question. It just kind of comes to the fact of, you know what, let's find a way to get it for these guys because they truly deserve it, right? If they want to give the fans a show, let them give us a show.
Absolutely. I agree. I would love to see something. There's got to be something within the next 12 to 18 months, something to allow these best players to play. Aaron Matthews, and then we'll go, Max. I got to show you this. How about Connor Bedard with 4 bingos in his return to the Regina Pats on Sunday afternoon? So obviously Connor Bedard got a ton of headlines when he scored 4 for the World Juniors Team Canada. He did it again back in the WHL. And Max, I have the video evidence if you don't mind watching it. I think there's some audio here, so I hope it's not too loud for everybody, but it should be all 4 goals, I believe. So just let's sit back and enjoy.
He's got speed on Kadura. Bedard dangles, shoots, and scores!
I'll turn it down a little bit. That was pretty loud.
Can you full screen it too?
Oh, yeah, I think. Is that working?
There you go.
Is that working?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't see it now because it's full screen on my laptop.
YouTube's definitely going to have something to say about this.
It's not on YouTube. It's on Twitter.
Twitter, wherever.
So anyways, comes in, dangles a defenseman, scores, comes in, just beats the goalie with a shot, comes in, toe drag shot, blasts by him. Look at that. Like, geez. And then this is an overtime winner, Max, just to put the cherry on top. Look at that.
In the new jerseys too. Love it.
Oh, gorgeous jerseys. Yeah. They did wonders with
So
those.
the fun factoid about that, obviously, right? And the headlines that are being made, the headlines that Connor Bedard is making is one, I think there's not really much of a question. If he was eligible to be drafted this year, I think he's probably still going number 1 overall. I think, right? Do you not think he maybe usurped Shane Wright, at least in terms of just the offensive prowess and the ability, generational offensive talent that this kid is.
I haven't seen or heard as much about Shane Wright this year as I thought I would. I don't know if that's his fault or what, but
it's because he projects to be a Patrice Bergeron. Maybe not the
I heard Ryan O'Reilly.
Hockey players.
I heard Ryan O'Reilly,
which again, another great comparison, right? Ryan O'Reilly, Patrice Bergeron. I think if you're drafting number 1 overall, you'd be very happy to have the next Patrice Bergeron or Ryan O'Reilly on your squad. Zero question about it. But when you look at Bedard, right, just the natural skill, the hockey IQ, the again generational offensive abilities that just don't come around every single day. It's a marvel to watch. And especially, again, say what you want about this tournament, about how, you know what, maybe some of their countries didn't have the full-fledged squads. Regardless, this kid worked his way up the lineup in half of a game. That was absolutely incredible to see. And then you go back to the factoid of the kid scored a hat trick in the World Juniors before he scored a hat trick in the WHL. That's unbelievable. You tried to beat me to it. That was cute. That was funny. But anyways,
I was gonna just say it at the same time as you. I was trying to get a jinx, but
drink jinx. You owe me a water.
Yeah.
Can't drink Coke. That stuff's not good for you. At least that's what my 2022 is saying.
Unless
regardless, Connor Bedard,
we get sponsored by them.
Yes, that's right. Yes. But no, Connor Bedard, regardless, man, we have to find a way, at least as a city, to appreciate this kid's greatness, because he's only here for another year plus. Like, he's going straight to the NHL as soon as his name's called in June. Sayonara, see you later. All the best to Connor Bedard, because the kid deserves it. And I'm really, really hoping he has the opportunity to not just lead Team Canada next year at the World Juniors, but dominate and just further cement his status as a potential future right-handed generational friggin' stud in the NHL. That's all I can hope for the kid. Deserves it.
Absolutely. I agree. Max, let's call it a night. I think we hit a decent over-under here. I know Robin Wiley said starting the show has messed up my over-under at 8:47. It's always going to be an over now. So yes, Robin, we are on that over. We hit that one. But we're doing pretty good in terms of timing, I think. We added a couple of topics too. So let's be honest, we did pretty good to get out by 9:30. We'll let you go watch your Predators game. Again, stay tuned. We got a Great Western Original 16 prize pack coming out shortly. We're going to be doing a giveaway on all of our social media channels. We got the Hockey Podcast Network stream tomorrow. Again, hopefully there's a game. We got the Leafs and Oilers. McDavid might be out. Matthews is, I think, like 75% going to play. So we're close.
Why is that?
Because he had a negative test today, so he might play.
I thought he just tested positive like a day ago or whatever.
And then they tested him again, and it was a negative, so they have to get a third test.
Who was administering that test, Clark?
Sheldon
Kyle? Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Amazing how the sun always shines on the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I'm just saying. But if McDavid's out, it'll change the dynamic of that game greatly. So we'll have to see. But anyways, that's going to be over.
6-0.
That's going to be over on the Hockey Podcast Network channel, not on this channel. So head over there and hit subscribe. And we're going to have some fun. Whoever's playing, we'll have some fun. So Max, have yourself a great night. Enjoy the Preds.
Will do.
To everyone watching on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, thanks for hanging out all night long. And we're going to see you guys next week. We'll probably have a guest lined up for next week, so stay tuned. We'll let you guys know. And we'll have another good show. So thank you guys for hanging out with us in our houses tonight. This is probably what it's going to look like, at least for a little bit. We might jump back into the studio a time or two here.
You're going to get a tan? I think that's the
that?
question on everyone's mind is, are you going to get a tan?
Because of my ring lights?
Yeah, I think you need to adjust those. Yeah, there you go. Now go back to the other one. What was it made your
I was
face
just putting my hands in front of them.
you look sick. You look like a ghost.
Too bright. Well, I'm also coughing a lot that I haven't shown.
Oh,
I also,
there you go.
If they're not bright enough, it looks too dim. So I just got to make sure that they're bright enough.
The greatest stars shine under the brightest of lights.
I can also change the
Hashtag
colors.
Connor Bedard.
Like, is this better? Yellow?
Couldn't have got much worse.
I'm just changing the colors now. Is this better?
Let's not make people suffer through this. Good night, everybody.
All right. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for hanging out, and see you guys next Tuesday, as well as tomorrow night on the Hockey Podcast Network. Bye-bye.